Good evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome to these special Sunday evenings, which are just so precious. Okay, so those of you who joined in last week, we spoke basically on, the power of our words, what we are saying, what energy they are, conveying, the vibrations of what is happening. And just as I put down the phone, one of my friends here, one of my students who's like a very dear friend, she called me or I called her for something. And we just started talking and she was saying something and, she was just talking about certain things that she was going through and all that. And I just told her that, this is so much of an unconscious chatter in your mind that you're just talking. It's not really carrying any meaning, and it's not really it doesn't really have any depth. We just spoke about how important it is to be understanding what the words that we are speaking. And it was just like, sometimes we are venting out and we're not really understanding what we are speaking, but those words really have a very powerful energy. So when I told her that, she just took a pause and she just reflected on it, and she said, yeah, I didn't realize that, I was just speaking without thinking. And so we just got talking, and I just mentioned to her about, that the mind is always going through a sort of unconscious chatter that we're not even aware of, and we are communicating to that with that all the time. And actually that determines, to a great extent, that determines how we feel after we say put down the phone or after we've had that little discussion. So just as we were talking at that point, and I just told her that, and she said certain things, and I'm going to allow her to speak next. Instantly there was some, when I went back to the phone and I saw a lot of people had thanked me for this evening of the talk on the power of our words. And I just went ahead and I just wrote that, and next Sunday we'll be talking about the unconscious chatter. This week we've been speaking about the conscious chatter, or the words that we are aware of. So let's speak about the unconscious chatter that is happening in our mind all the time, and how it can make us suffer, really suffer. So I just want Mamta to share, a bit of, whatever we spoke that day, so that we can go ahead and do that. Just take on from this session.
Thank you so much, Sujata, for today and every day, for pointing out actually where my mind goes. And last, I think, couple of years, I've been working towards, being aware of all the conscious chatter. And we know about the conscious and the unconscious chatter both. And to a certain extent, I've been able to kind of being in awareness as far as conscious chatter is concerned, changing my vocabulary, the way I think, the way I speak, thanks to all the modalities I've learned from Sujata and Rohini, my other teacher. But I did not come to know or realize till Sujata pointed out that whatever I was speaking, it was actually unconscious in my mind. And it was constantly chattering, and I was not even aware of it. Despite of, working and being in awareness and doing so many modalities, being in touch with myself, being in touch with, doing all the classes, using all the tools, not regularly, but off and on still. So that day I realized that even the unconscious chatter is so, I would not say powerful, but it is so much there. It is so much there, and we have to be very careful on that also, because it makes all the difference of what we call is suffering, or we victimize mode, or being unhappy, or being sad about it. And the moment, Sujata, you pointed out, I think since then there has been a shift. There has been shift of listening to my being aware of my unconscious chatter. The moment it kind of wriggles in, I try and try be aware of it. Try be aware of it, and yes, it has helped. And of course, new things just they just come in when you're aware of it, like the tapping session we were doing, and then the tarot which we did. like everything kind of aligns you to lot of peace, lot of peace. I don't know, happiness is a big different kind of, I think it's too much overrated word. If you're at peace, I think lot is sorted. So yeah, thank
True.
you.
Thank you. So I want to ask you all that, are you aware of the unconscious chatter in your mind, or do you agree that there is a chatter in your mind all the time? I would want to start with hearing from you. That are we aware even right now while you're listening to me, there's some kind of a chatter in the back of your mind, isn't it?
Non-stop chatter.
Non-stop chatter, isn't it? And we are so like, our mind is such that it's so easy to believe that chatter, isn't it? It's so easy to believe that chatter. If if there's something like, whether it's a constructive thought or it's a negative thought, whatever it is running parallelly all the time in your mind. All the time it is like a parallel, talk. And you are engaging in that conversation, isn't it? You are engaging in that conversation. It was very shocking for me when I realized and I, understood this, or even became aware of this in the beginning. What happened was that a few years back, I went on a silent retreat, and it was my first kind of a silent retreat. And I was very happy because I was not a person who's very happy engaging in a lot of conversations with, especially people who, new people and all that. So I was very peaceful. I was on my own. You don't have to engage with anybody, don't talk to anybody. And on the second day of the retreat, we were told that now be aware of the chatter in your mind, the silence. You have to bring in the silence with the chatter in your mind. You have to stop engaging and stop conversing with the chatter in your mind. And it was like suddenly it came to me, chatter in my mind. I mean, that's not a chatter. It's just so normal. It's not something that is out of the box. So why do we need to disengage from that? And then slowly, as I became aware of that, that is actually what is real silence. It's not just not speaking and not engaging with, say, people around you. It's the constant chit chat that is happening, and everything that everything that your mind says, you are always answering it, isn't it? Everything that your mind says, you're always answering it. So okay, so supposing, I mean, just look at anything. You look at, you think you are watching a movie and there's something that passes by you, and you see like a red car, and you just think of a red car. Wow, it's such a wonderful color. You don't see many red cars there. Your mind will start going into that chatter. Yeah, but when you traveled abroad last year, that person had a red car, and what fun we had in that person's house. Yeah, but the lady next door was quite rude when we parked the car, just a little ahead into her parking. And you go on and on and on from there, and you can just go on endlessly. I mean, this is quite a decent conversation, but you go into other conversations, or somebody says something to you and it triggers or brings in, say, a pain body, or touches an emotion inside you, and the chit chat starts. Your mind knows your trigger points. Your mind knows which are the, how to scratch those wounds. I mean, why did he say this to me? What did she mean? Was she really saying it for my good? I mean, and your mind will answer, yeah, she always says like that. He always points it out to me, but I always try to do my best. Why can't, but I'm always a loser. In my childhood also this happened, and you keep going back, and you feel so depressed after it that you're good for nothing, isn't it? And here the whole world is telling you, wow, you're doing so wonderfully. You're having these Reiki sessions, you're having these talks, people are sending thank you messages, but just that one stupid thought of some random thing will take you into such a past thing of, self-sabotage, where you'll be totally drowned in that. And all these 1,000 messages on your mobile of thank you and appreciation and gratitude will mean nothing, will mean absolute nothing, because you're so hooked on to that conversation. And it's not just hooked on, you are believing it 100%. You're believing it 100%. If your mind says, wow, you're looking so good, or you're doing so well, you won't really believe it. You'll wait for something else. You won't believe it to that level that you'll believe when something says in your mind that you're not looking good today, or your face is looking too dark, or your clothes are looking like this. You'll instantly believe it and you'll start feeling bad, isn't it? We all feel that. And then that whirlpool starts, that whole funnel of emotions keep coming, and it pulls you down, and there you go, totally drowned in that. How many of you are aware of it? I mean, do you agree to what I'm saying?
Yeah,
या तो
totally.
डिलीट ही कर लो, पता नहीं क्या ही ढूंढ रही हूँ मैं उसमें, नहीं अच्छी आ रही है। अच्छा क्या ही बस आती आ रही है, मेरे को मोटिवेशन नहीं।
Okay, I'm just going to mute you. Yeah, somebody wants to share something, Vinita? Let's hear from you also. I mean, do you get caught in this mind chatter? And do you see how it creates suffering in your life? Srishti, why don't you share?
Absolutely, Auntie. I agree with you 100%. Like there's one question that comes into your mind, and then there are 100 questions that, just follows it. And to this, even my sister Kanvi also agrees that I think at times it's the judgment of oneself also that makes you drown in the emotions.
And Auntie, like there are a lot of times when you feel like you want to go with the flow and not think about a lot of stuff, but then the chatter in the mind just comes up and then you don't know what to do about it.
And actually, it's like an unconscious chatter. It's not that you have invited it, but actually, the moment you become aware of it, you sort of take a step back and understand that it's just a conversation that you are engaging in, and you don't need to be believing in it. You just don't need to be believing in it.
Yes.
Isn't it so?
Yes.
Right, Auntie. Absolutely.
And the moment you disengage from that chatter, which I know is not so easy for a lot of us, it is not so easy because the chatter is so seductive. It takes you into totally a victimized mode and you become the poor me. This happened to me. This happened to me. And then all your pain bodies sort of open up. And
Yeah.
it takes you deeper and deeper. And you're believing every story that the mind is telling you.
Yeah, it starts
there's
giving
no-
you
Yeah, go ahead.
it starts giving you a kind of satisfaction. It gives you, if I don't chatter with my mind, there's something missing.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, it's not about don't chatter. It's like you're not even aware that you're chatting with the mind. It's just a conversation that is happening. Even like right now when we are talking, there could be something, like, oh, so how many people are there on the group? Who has joined? Who has not joined? I'm just telling you that,
Auntie.
how it is. But if you take your awareness there, then you get engaged in it. If you just allow those thoughts, because the mind is going to bring them up. The mind is going to bring them up, but you don't need to be engaging in them. And the biggest thing that I understood was that this chatter, this conversation 24/7 with the mind is so exhausting. And sometimes you feel I haven't done anything. I've just been lying in bed and doing nothing. And why am I so exhausted?
Absolutely.
Because it's this constant chatter in your mind, which is exhausting you, which is draining you, which is telling you you're good for nothing. You're absolutely doing nothing. And nothing is going good in your life. And you're believing every word of it.
Right, Auntie. Right.
Can I say
Isn't it?
something?
Yes, please. I
Yeah,
want to hear from you people.
Yeah, because I've noticed that, not in the exact terms of chatter, but if I feel that, I've been thinking something a lot in my, back of my mind. So even if I'm attentive towards it, my attention goes away from that, then some other chatter starts. So
All the time.
mean,
Absolutely.
yeah. So,
Absolutely.
is it meditation the way, or how do you, how do
See,
you?
the first thing is definitely meditation is always a way out of this. But the first thing is to be aware that this is a chatter. It's not reality. It's a thought. And you're engaging in that thought, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a
And
thought
you're
that has been dropped
thought.
into your consciousness. It's not that you've chosen to be, you've not called that thought in. Right? So the first thing is to be aware that it's just a chatter and step back. Really, really step back and, just allow the chatter to pass through, because what it leads to is only fear and worry. And 90% of the chatter is negative. Wouldn't you agree?
Sujata,
Yeah,
that
so-
was my next question. It
Mhm.
sounds silly, but why is it always negative? Generally that's what happens. Why is it
Well,
negative only?
Yeah. I know what you're saying. So I wouldn't know why it is negative, but the thing is that we focus on the negative. Because, there is see, if I go back to whatever is my wisdom, whatever little I know on this path, and the little that I understand is that we've all come from a very conditioned, fearful background. It was from the beginning of humankind, it was survival of the fittest, always protect yourself. So whatever seems like a threat, one goes to that energy to form a sort of a protection shield or to be prepared for the worst. Or maybe that's my way of thinking or whatever I feel. So it's always that, you as children also, you grow up and you're thinking, you're always told to be careful, not to get hurt, not to fall down, not to be betrayed, isn't it? That's the way our conditioning has taught us to grow up. We've not really been told to be fearlessly going out and doing whatever we need to, and we'll see to whatever happens. That's not how we've been brought up. So those voices of conditioning of, being careful is very, very, very important to have. And they come very naturally to us because it's the flight, fight, freeze reaction,
Yeah.
right? So that is always there somewhere in our subconscious, that whatever we are doing, whatever we are acting upon, whatever is happening, we need to be careful. We need to be guarded, isn't it? And how does that guarding come when we are in a chatter, like, the threats, the fears, the fearful things of what if this situation, what is the negative out of this situation that could harm me? Isn't it? What is it in this that could harm me? That starts to pop up. And that's why you need to be on the guard all the time. So your mind picks those things up, because that's how the mind is trained, isn't it? The mind is not trained like, if you see a small child, he doesn't know what is the dark. He doesn't know that an animal next to him is going to bite him, or he doesn't know there's a lizard or a rat walking around, until someone screams and shouts to make the child feel that this is a fearful situation and he needs to protect himself, isn't it? So we are not born like that. We're not at all born like that. But as we grow, our conditioning, the way we are, the way things are, it leads us into believing that and making that a reality, isn't it? So when there's a mind chatter, it's always on the guard of wanting to see as to what is it that can protect me. What it shouldn't harm me, isn't it? So we believe that in order to form a protective shield, always be prepared for the worst. I would love to hear this from you, because, everybody's mind has a different way of thinking. So maybe like the kind of personality that I am, for me, that, that safety, that security, those kind of things are important. But that constant chatter, and like, you asked that, why is it that we believe the negative, and why is it so much negative? I think that's the way our mind is sort of conditioned to be thinking, because, we are growing up with those, or that's what gives us a sense of comfort, because we go into a space of self-pity or like a victimized state, which is very comfortable.
I've realized,
Go ahead.
I've realized, Sujata, that for me, that unconscious chatter probably become a conscious chatter, and I engage consciously with it as in, situations.
Yeah.
And I kind of, I'm like preparing myself. Acha, wo aisa bolega, to main aise bolungi, wo aise bolegi. So it kind of actually becomes a conscious discussion.
Yeah, I know what you're saying totally. I totally understand, because I understand this unconscious chatter turning into a conscious chatter. But the focus here is more about, see, when you're planning something, supposing you're planning a workshop or you're planning a seminar, you would definitely think, or you're planning a trip, you would engage in your mind, with your mind, and you would think of things like, okay, so I need to plan this, and you would talk to yourself, okay, by this date I should have this, I should have my ticket in place, I should have the visa, whatever you're planning. That kind is a constructive chatter. But if you're not aware, that constructive chatter can also lead you into an unconscious, fearful situation, and you start feeling that fear, and that vibration in your body starts to become a reality for you, doesn't it? And that is always, if you're aware of this chatter, it is always a chatter of something from the past or the future. You're totally disconnected from the present, isn't it? Right? You're totally disconnected from the present. And that's what, is a kind of a state of self-sabotage.
Sujata, can I ask a question?
Yeah, Manisha, please go ahead.
Hi. This chatter happens mostly in the kitchen. If I am doing something else, like if I am working somewhere else, it will not happen. The moment I will enter kitchen, because all the things which I am doing in the kitchen, they are routine things. So my mind is empty, free. So at that time, this chatter happens the most. Why is it so?
I cannot answer this why, but yeah, it's just that you need to be in awareness. When you enter the kitchen, you have to shut your mind off. This is not the time to engage. Let me just enjoy what I'm cooking. So yeah, and like, even though you feel so that it happens only in the kitchen, I'm not very sure if it only happens in that time. Be a little more aware. There are other times also, but maybe when you're in the kitchen, you feel the chatter more, you feel this more. But I really wouldn't be able to say that. I wouldn't know what to say, that why this only happens in the kitchen. That is something for you to be more aware of and help you to grow, isn't it? But yeah, maybe you say that, yeah, your mind is not involved constructively when you're in the kitchen. So you need to be more constructively involved when you're doing your cooking and not make it just a routine thing. Bring in more fun, bring in more, something more enjoyable when you're doing your cooking too.
Okay.
Harmeet, you were saying something?
Yeah, Sujata, thanks. I was just telling you that after joining, satsangs and Reiki and joining all these groups, so one tendency which I'm trying to control is not to judge anyone. But somehow my mind has turned towards me only, because I'm all the time judging myself, and I'm never where I'm supposed to be. I mean, I'm speaking too harshly, or I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. So my mind has turned towards me. It's always, pinpointing my faults as a human being. So that's giving me problem. That puts me down.
Yeah. So that's exactly what I was giving the example of when we started, isn't it? It's your mind is telling you, yeah, see, you're not doing good enough. You're not spending enough time outside. You're not going for your walk. You're not doing your exercise or whatever, blah, blah, blah. It is going on. And it is making you feel absolutely horrible about yourself. So that's all to do with self-judgment. But really, the thing we have to understand, and the things that we are reinforcing even in these sessions, is that you're just doing your best all the time. So you can tell yourself that also, no? You can tell your mind that I'm doing my best. I get so tired. I'm completing these tasks. I have all these, assignments to do, or I have all these assignments and lined up for me, and I've done all my planning, and I'm holding all these storytelling workshops and everything, and I'm successful there. But when you tell that to your mind doesn't believe it. Right? And we also expect that when we tell somebody that, you should be doing this, you expect that they should be believing you, isn't it? And they should be following you and doing you, whether it is your children or whoever, right? But you are not able to convince yourself into doing it. Do you see how this is just a trick of the mind again? Otherwise, we should so easily be able to tell ourselves that, okay, you have to get up at 6 o'clock, you have to go for your walk, you have to do your yoga, you have to do your, exercise, whatever. But you tell yourself, but you don't believe in yourself. And when you're preaching, when you're telling somebody, it's like that person just doesn't listen to me. But we are also not listening to ourselves, no? We're also not listening to ourselves, isn't it? So the thing is not about listening or not listening. The thing is, what is it that we are believing? What is it that we are believing? We are believing this chatter in the mind, which is constantly non-stop going on. But if we are in a good space, if we are in a high vibration, then we will not be caught by the low vibration of this chatter, isn't it? Like if you are in awareness, like now, a lot of times I'm aware that this is a chatter in my mind, and I'm not denying that there is a story attached to it, that something has happened, somebody has said something, somebody has done something has happened in your work, in your project, in your office. I'm not denying that. But can we not look at it just as face value? I mean, this is as much a lesson for me as any one of you. If you are, say, pulled up in your office for certain things, or somebody says something to you in your office, we don't have to keep going back and back and back and making that such a long story. Can we not just look at it that, yeah, this person expected this work out of me. I couldn't do it, even though I had all my excuses. But the fact is that I couldn't deliver it. And can I not just take it at that, rather than going back and starting that whole thing that this person is always after my life. He pulls me up, he says this, she says this. And yeah, I need to give this job, I need to quit this job, I need to apply for a new job. Let me look, where else can I do? And then I start reaching out to friends, I really need to find a new job. You actually forget the basic thing. If you just say, yeah, I couldn't complete it, I'm sorry for whatever reasons, and next time I'll see to it that I complete it. Full stop, finish. There's nothing more beyond that. But it is so difficult for us to accept that, because that self-sabotage is, what we are doing is more harmful than what the boss has done. Isn't it? Isn't it? But we are not able to do that rationalization because we just get sucked in. It's like a vacuum that just sucks you into it if you're not aware. Isn't it? And actually, we've lived with it. I can say that for myself. I've lived with it for all my life. It is only now in the past couple of years that I have started realizing that it is a chatter. And still a lot of times you get caught in it. You get drained with it. Isn't it? Isn't it so? So you can, yeah, say.
Okay, let me finish.
Okay, one by one. I can't see, but yeah, you can go one by one.
Auntie, can I ask?
Yes, go ahead.
So, Auntie, I have this question, like maybe how to stop with the assumptions. So, like for example, Auntie, suppose we are in contact with a person on a daily, like just in contact with a person, but we don't tend to talk every day. So sometimes, you know, we just put the blame on ourselves that maybe if we are not talking to the person might feel bad. So we take the responsibility on ourselves. So like how to stop with all that? Like
see,
the
basically all of it comes from a space of, you know, awareness is the biggest thing that you can do. And you also do this because there's a lot, your energy is really scattered, you know. And again, when you say that you should be doing something, is something which you're forcing yourself to do. Isn't it? It should be like something which is more natural and something that you're wanting to do, to go into that. But the thing is, the assumption that you're talking about, it's not the action again. It's not this thing that I have to do this, or I should be doing this. The thing that is troubling is the assumption that, okay, if I don't talk to this person, he may think this or she may think this. I might lose out on this friendship, and I've lost out on my other friends also, blah, 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 blah. And that whole story, that whole story starts off. And it's the assumptions and the projections that you are making in your mind. And believe me, the other person is not even thinking anything.
Yeah, Auntie, right.
Isn't it?
It's just my own thing which is going on.
Yeah, it is our own assumptions. 100% it is our own, it is our own assumptions. And actually, if you want to go ahead there, then you can just go ahead without this pressure of, that I need to do it because of what the other person is thinking. That is never going to be helpful. That is never going to be helpful, isn't it?
Right, Auntie, absolutely right. Thank you,
Arjun,
Auntie.
were you saying something?
Yeah, I was. I just wanted to share my experience. I've been attending so many calls over the last year or so with you, and I think the first time I heard you talk about our mind chattering with us, I was confused because I said, "Aren't we the mind? Like, what is the separation between me and my mind?"
Mm-hmm.
And I think it became more clear to me over time. And there was one meditation I remember you'd walked us through in particular, where you said, "Drop your identity and just be yourself."
Yeah.
And that's when I really realized that that there is a distinct separation where the mind is not creating our reality. Well, we are our own reality, and the mind, if we let the mind create a reality, then we let it. But because we're separate from our mind, it was when we did that meditation, you said, drop your identity, drop your gender, drop your name, drop everything, that I realized that I am something which is very independent of my identity and my mind.
Absolutely. And actually, even the fact that we are reporting that there is a chatter, that means that we are separate from the chatter, isn't it? If you're going on talking to somebody, it means you and the other person are totally engaged in that chatter. But if you step back, how can you report that there is a mind chatter happening? The mind is saying something, you are replying. But if you are engaged in this, then you cannot be this. Now you have to be a person or an entity outside that chatter to be able to look at it that way, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other thing that you've always said is breathing. And I find that, one is, I think because of working, it is, like you said, difficult to become aware of when there's chatter. But even when you're aware, it's difficult for me to switch it off.
Yeah.
So
it's difficult for everyone. It's difficult for everyone.
So
you're not the only one.
Like the one simple thing you've always said is, if you just, and I do this sometimes, like when I can remember to do it, is if I focus on my breathing, then the mind can actually only think of one thing at a time. And if my mind is focusing on my breath, then the chatter sort of switches off, at least for 5 seconds or 10 seconds.
Absolutely.
And if I do it enough times, then the chatter gets enough of a break that it doesn't keep popping up again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The breathing really helps. Just taking those 3 breaths of consciousness or awareness really, really helps. Really helps. Shivani, were you saying something?
Yes, you just mentioned about the victim mode and self-pity we go in, like poor me, and why this is happening to me, or I'm in misery. So how to come out of that state when we are thinking I'm in misery, or the victim mode and self-pity stuff?
So see, firstly, what we are trying to talk about today is also that to understand that, how you first take yourself into that victim mode. So firstly, try and prevent it at the, at an earlier level rather than going into that. Somebody says something to you, or you get into an argument with somebody and you just don't, firstly at that point only stop yourself. At that point only don't, because your mind will start off. Now it has got full fuel to tell you the whole story of what happened for the last 20, 30, 40 years that you've lived with this person, and all that, all the negativity will come up because it has touched a sore spot inside you, isn't it? But you have to empower yourself. Coming out of victimization, the best way is to really, really empower yourself and come into a space of empowerment. And from there, step back and see that, firstly ask yourself, is this true? And today I'm just going to, make you do a little exercise on a few thoughts with these 4 questions, which really, really helped me to step out of this mind chatter. The moment you catch yourself in that mind chatter, step out of it. Like, it's not just a chatter, it's like a comment. You're walking on the road, you're going for a nice peaceful walk, you'll see something, you'll see, oh my God, how many stray dogs are there in my colony? They just don't allow us to walk. Why don't people do something about it? And then there'll be the mind from the other side saying something that, yeah, but all these people are feeding these dogs outside their house. And then your mind will say, yeah, but they're also, they also need a place, they also need to be fed, they're here on the thing. And just, it is nothing even personal, but the fact is that your mind is commenting all the time and you're replying to that comment. Is it not so? That you're commenting on everything. You see something, oh, why is she wearing a pink color today? Pink doesn't suit her. Last time she was wearing yellow. So it's nothing to even a judgment. It's just that the mind has a tendency to comment on everything, but you needn't reply back. You needn't reply back to that. Because once you start in that conversation, it's not necessary that it takes you into a victimized mode, but the fact is that you're engaged in something which is useless and totally draining, isn't it? It totally drains your energy and it's not needed. But with awareness, you can just say, okay, she chooses to wear this, or, this is what it is. And I can't really solve this problem of whether it's stray dogs in the colony or, the victimized state that one goes into. One doesn't have control over, that whole situation. But the awareness that you bring in, or the moment you feel yourself being sucked into, now to really answer Shivani's question, to come into that space of, stepping back and not engaging in that conversation. Just give me a moment. Stepping back and looking at it as a third person and just letting that conversation or those thoughts just pass through you, you'll totally feel settled. And like Arjun said, you don't have to be attached to that identity of, when you drop everything and you realize that you are separate from this chatter. This chatter is happening, but you who are reporting this chatter is separate from that chatter. And actually, if there is a victimized state, Shivani, when you say this, okay, think of a thought that pulls you down, or that, that leads you into a space of victimization. And then just step back and see that the part of you that is reporting that you are victimized, is that part victimized?
Okay.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
So is that part victimized? The part that is telling you that, see, you've fallen into a victim mode. The part that is reporting this, is it victimized?
Maybe not.
Yeah, it's not maybe, it's not. Because if it was caught in the victimization, it wouldn't feel the separation of it, isn't it? And what even Arjun was mentioning about, this part of you, this is your identity, your stories, your gender, the roles that you play, that leads you into this victimized state. But the part of you that is actually telling you this is not engaged in all that. That is actually the first step into if I may say, when you're moving on to a spiritual journey or a spiritual path, that you are separate from all this chatter, you are separate from all these roles, from all this, all this that is happening in your life. These are just your life events. They're not your life. Life is now in the present. All these are just situations that are happening in your life. Now, if you choose to not fall into that victimized mode, and you are aware of it now, like right now we've mentioned it, and all of us have, like Manisha said, maybe when I enter into the kitchen, I fall into this mind chatter and start to trouble me, or somebody feels it in their office, somebody feels it with a particular person. But actually, lots of times you might have just gone on a wonderful holiday. You're sitting in the midst of, the best views, the best valleys, the best beaches in the world, but you could still be feeling horrible because of a thought of somebody who said something to you 40 years or 30 years back, because you're holding that pain within you. Does that not happen to all of us?
Yeah, it does.
It does. So that means that story is still attached to you somewhere, and something led you to that. Now, a lot of times people come to me and they say that, I've forgiven, this thing happened to me, say many, many years back, 20 years back, 30 years back, somebody hurt me or they said something, but I've really forgiven and forgotten those people. I've really moved on in my life and I don't have anything against them, especially when it comes to forgiveness issues. So I would ask that person, okay, tell me what happened 20 years back with this person in your life. And this person who's talking to me can actually narrate that whole incident of what happened 20 years back. She can totally narrate it. And, those same dialogues, those same words, tears start to flow down. There's anxiety in the body. There's trembling in the body, because you are reliving that whole moment of that trauma that happened, say 20, 30 years back. And now it has the pain of 20 years because you've been carrying it with you for 20 years. Somewhere in your subconscious, and the person who hurt you or said something to you may be living peacefully in this world, or may have even moved on to the other world. But have you let go of that? No, you're still holding on to that. And suddenly you are out, say 30 years later, you're sitting on a beautiful beach on a holiday, and you see somebody passing by, and that lady happens to resemble that person who said something to you 30 years back. And your mind takes you back to that, when she shouted at you, or she put you down, or she said something. And there the whole vibration comes into the body. Does it not come in? Does it not come into our body? It always brings up. And that's the awareness at that time, when you laugh at it and you say that, forget it. I mean, she did whatever she did, and I can't ruin my holiday now just because of thinking of some pain that I carried from 30 years. But awareness has to be there, isn't it? And what is it? But the bigger thing to understand here is, what is it? Is it the whole incident of the lady putting you down, or somebody, humiliating you 20, 30 years back? That is just a story that you're carrying. And actually, a lot of times when people say that, I believe it, that they've forgiven and forgotten the story, but they've not dealt with the pain. Then a second person comes into their life who also makes them feel humiliated in the same way. Then a third person comes, and a fourth person comes, only because we have not really dealt or, looked at that thought to be just a thought. We had made it our reality, and it really, the way, unconscious ways that it starts coming into the body. And then you relive that whole pain, you relive that whole moment, isn't it? And you again feel miserable on a holiday, that you wonder, like, why am I not able to enjoy myself? Because that whole pain body has come up again with that past thought, not reality. It was only a thought of something that happened many, many years back. And your belief in that thought now is what we are coming to, the main thing of what we want to talk today. That it is only a thought and nothing more than a thought. And it is our belief in that thought. Our belief in that thought. If I give you all of you 2 minutes or 1 minute to think of that one trigger in your life, that one trigger in your life that, you feel all the time. Somebody feels, oh, I'm always rejected. Somebody feels always angry. Somebody feels always that, I'm not good enough. Whatever it is, we all have our stories. We all have a story. And that story is actually built upon a thought which just came from somewhere. Nobody planted that thought in your mind. And everybody would say with good, valid reasons, a healer, a therapist, an astrologer, somebody, an elderly in your family will give you valid reasons as to why you feel this. Somebody rejected you in a past life, somebody pushed you off the cliff and you died in a past life, or you were left alone as a child, your parents were working and you were left in a daycare. So many stories. But the fact is that you are still believing that thought and giving it the power. Your parents could do no better. They needed to work and, support you. So they needed to leave you in a daycare and they chose the best daycare. But what happened as a child, you enjoyed your days in a daycare, isn't it? But when 30 years later, till 30 years later, you feel abandoned or you feel betrayed and you say, oh, but my childhood was so bad because for the first 10 years of my life, I lived in a daycare or I lived in a hostel. But you enjoyed those 10 years. Now that story has carried with you 30 years later. My parents did this, or I experienced I was bullied in my school. But that time was something that happened in your school and you didn't really, you dealt with it or whatever happened. But that story lingers, and 40 years later, when you develop depression or, some kind of a issue, and you go to a therapist and then we open up your past and it says, oh, but your childhood was not very comfortable. And that is why you're suffering through this, because you're believing in that thought. But when you were a child, you were very happy in the daycare. You were very happy in your school. Do we realize that? Yes, Mamta, go ahead.
Yeah, just want to share. Yes, we are so concerned about the other person also. But I just want to share something. There can be fear for your own issues also. Like after COVID, I had this deep fear of not being able to drive. I used to always tell you that like I feel so wobbly, I feel the loss of balance, and it's been 2 months since I got more than 2 months in fact, and I have not driven. Today is the first time I drove myself, and I've been a highway driver all my life since number of years. Like I can just pick up my car and go to anywhere, in the world kind of thing.
Yeah, so it's the belief in that thought that gives you the fear, isn't it?
Yes,
it's
exactly.
the belief in that thought that I will not be able to drive. And that thought just comes in from where I'm feeling weak, I've not fully recovered. It's only been 2 months. People need 3 months, 6 months. Maybe you need to be on bed and fully recover from COVID, and you'll be able to go back to driving. Why not? But the thought comes, I won't be able to drive. I need to go somewhere. I won't be able to drive. And then you go back into that whole victimized mode, as Shivani was asking, because, like all my life I've driven, I've been a highway driver. I can just pick up my car and go, but now I can't go because of the COVID. So this is the chatter that we are engaging in. But the moment you choose to step out of it and you pick up the car keys and you sit in the car, there you see that you can go and drive. Isn't it? So the fear was all accumulated before you actually take that step. So like again, I'm saying it's easy either to do with the past or the future. So when the example I was giving you was that now you're feeling that, your relationships are not working out in life. And when you dig deeper, you realize that, my parents didn't have a good relationship, or I was not treated well as a child, or my sibling was given more preference over me. But when you were a child, you never felt all those things. Or your mind is telling you that you've been unwell with COVID, you will not be able to drive, you'll not be able to go out, you'll not be able to meet your friends. That's in the future. But right now, when you're sitting in your car and driving, it's all perfect, isn't it? This is life, not the past or the future. Does it make sense? So the biggest thing is definitely to come into the present. Now let's take this thought. Let all of you take one thought. Let me take you through this little exercise. Pick up a thought that troubles you. Pick up a thought that troubles you. Now, somebody would say that, okay, when I see, like Mamta saying, when I see people driving fast, or when I think of people going for a drive on a highway, it just triggers something inside me that I won't be able to drive. Or when you see people in a good relationship with their partners, with their children, and you lack that in your life, that could be there. Or some people have a very good rapport with their parents, and maybe you don't have that kind of a rapport. That becomes, I'm not able to do this. Anything, somebody is very financially stable and they have the best of things, and you are feeling a lack of finances. Anything can be a trigger. It could be a good health. It could be somebody has a perfect figure and you've always been trying to diet to get that figure and you're not able to get it. The moment something like that comes into your awareness through a movie, through a book, through an ad, through somebody sharing, there you get caught in it, isn't it? Is it making sense of what I'm speaking?
Yes, Auntie.
Yeah. So pick up one thing and answer these questions that I'm going to tell you to answer. Let's all take a moment. Just close your eyes, bring up a thought, or you can even take a moment to bring a paper and write down this thought of, yeah, I'm always rejected. I'm always abandoned. I'm always taken for granted, or I may never be able to lose weight. I'm never going to be a successful entrepreneur. I'll never be able to travel. Whatever it is that comes into your mind and that starts to pull you down. And all of us have such thoughts. I'm sure everybody has some thoughts. Is there anybody who doesn't have? Somebody can give, somebody who has more than one can, lend theirs to them, so that we all work on something. So when you have that thought, now what I want you to do is to answer these 4 questions. And I'll tell you, this is a worksheet that I did, which is given to us by Byron Katie, and it is called The Work. So the first question that you need to answer is that when you think of this thought, okay, let me take a thought like, everybody rejects me. Ask yourself the first question, which says, is this true? Is this true? Just answer in a yes or no. And most of you would say yes, because when you look at it on the face of it, you always feel rejected, isn't it? Most of us would say yes. Yeah, I'm always shouted at. I'm always taken for granted. I can never lose weight. I always try, but I fail, or whatever. I'll never be rich, whatever it is. The second question is this the absolute truth? Is this the absolute truth? And what do I mean by the absolute truth? What does absolute truth mean? The absolute truth means that it is never changing. Like 100 out of 100 times you've been taken for granted. 100 out of 100 times you've been put down and rejected. There has been never a moment where you have been appreciated, or you've been able to, applaud yourself, or people have praised you, or people have wanted you. No. Nobody can say a yes to this. Is there anybody who feels that this is, it's a yes for them, that this is the absolute truth for them? And the third question, how do you feel with this thought? So when you are with this thought that I'm rejected, I can never lose weight, I can never be rich, I can never get a good job, I can never own a, luxury car or whatever. How do you feel with this thought? And I would like you to write one thing that you feel, or speak up, just one word of how you feel with this thought. Let's hear from you. How do you feel with this thought?
Horrible.
Horrible.
Disgusting.
Depressed.
Okay.
Hurt.
Disempowered, hurt, depressed.
Disgusting.
Angry. Disgusting, angry. Yeah.
Disappointed.
Disappointed. Wonderful.
Sad.
Wonderful. Hurt. Okay. And tell me now, just take a moment and tell me, keep your eyes closed, or just close your eyes and be with this work that we are doing. How do you feel without this thought? How do you feel without this thought?
Next, excellent.
Relieved, happy,
Joyful.
joyful, empty. So what am I trying to tell you? What is this work really trying to tell us? That it is only a thought, and your belief in that thought, your attachment to that thought, your engagement with that thought is what makes you feel helpless, hurt, sad, upset, depressed. And your disengagement from that thought makes you feel happy, joyous, relieved, wonderful, whatever, all the beautiful words that you used. Do you see that it is only a thought? Is it making sense? Anybody wants to ask something? It's a very, very important thing to understand, and it can really, really liberate you from a lot of suffering. It has really helped me. Like, say a question like somebody says that, this person, my boss always scolds me, or my boss always puts me down. So if I say, okay, is this the truth? Of course it's the truth, because when you come to me, you're full of anger for your boss. Of course this is the truth. Is it the absolute truth? You would take a pause to think, is it the absolute truth? No, he did praise me once or twice. It's not that always he does that. But yeah, today he really did it, but it's not the absolute truth. So when you think that your boss always puts you down, how do you feel with that thought? I feel absolutely disgusting, good for nothing. And I really feel like shooting him and killing him because there's so much anger inside me. Why is all this anger inside you? Because you are believing in that thought. You are with that thought. You and that thought are one. Okay, so how would you feel without that thought? What does it mean to be without that thought? I mean, I don't believe that my boss always puts me down, right? That's a thought and this is a thought. So how do you feel? Wow, I just feel wonderful. I feel absolutely relieved. There's absolutely nothing to think about or feel bad about or sad about. So it is your attachment to that thought, to that mind chatter, to whatever came up that makes you feel this way, isn't it? Are you understanding the importance of this freedom, which is totally in your own way of thinking? And then you can even change that thought. If we really go on to doing this exercise, which we do in some sessions, we can change that thought to using an affirmation. My boss really praises me and loves me. The moment you say it only, it gives you so much of pleasure and joy, doesn't it? My boss really loves me and always praises my work. And then your mind will pop up and say, but he shouted at you today. You know, but if you start to raise your vibrations in that way and you start using that even as an affirmation to turn that thought around and start writing it and using it, you'll see that that will become your reality. And even when the boss tells you sometimes next time that, you know, you didn't do this or whatever, you won't feel it as him putting you down. It's only because you feel that inside you and what your boss is telling you, you are believing it. And that's what pulls you down. Is it making sense? Let me hear from you. Was it helpful?
It definitely was. I used to ask myself if it's true. So I think that used to help me. Like for me personally, I realized this a while ago that since I've been attending these sessions for a while, and you've always said it's your belief and thoughts that really get you. Because I'm not really an individual who likes to think that I can't control what I think. Of course, I know that some things pop into all of our heads, but then I always remind myself that it's my choice to believe it, engage in it, or just like let it go, I guess. And what's funny is that I also realized that sometimes I feel like if I like try to talk myself out of something bad that I'm thinking, that I'll somehow end up feeling better when it does the opposite because you keep going deeper into it.
Absolutely.
Trying to explain to yourself like, no, it's not true. But then it's like an argument you're having with yourself. And it's just so ironic and funny that now I've just realized like, no, engaging in it is just going to make it worse. So I think all of that, listening to this also helped. And it made me a little more confident in what I'm doing, I think. So thank you.
Absolutely. And she said such a valid point that, you know, when you're trying to push that thought out, you're actually giving more energy to that thought. You know, I shouldn't be thinking like this. I shouldn't be going. It's not about that. You're still giving full energy to that negative thought, isn't it? You're still giving full energy to that negative thought. So be aware. Yes, Manjari, go ahead.
Yeah, hi Sujata. I just
Hi.
wanted to share something on this mind chatter and giving energy to negative thoughts. Without getting into details, I was in a situation a couple of days ago where I was feeling very disempowered and very, very neglected. And then suddenly I thought of what you have been teaching us, that I am enough. Okay. And just with that thought, Sujata, I really want to share this because I've never seen this happen. Immediately, the moment that thought came to me and I stepped out of a particular room, things absolutely came to me the way I wanted them to. So that magic mantra of yours,
Yeah.
yes, and it's really transformative. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. So see, it's your belief in that thought of I am enough. And that brings in the positive vibration, and that actually shifts the energy of the entire situation, because you're not giving energy to the fact that, you know, somebody said that you are good for nothing and you're not, you're believing in it. What will you feel? You will feel good for nothing and you'll keep slipping down into that whole vortex. But the moment you step back and say, no, I am enough. The moment you say that, you see that you are enough and you feel that you are enough and you believe that you are enough, and there you are out of it, isn't it? So easily you step out of it. I always tell people, you know, like even a simple thing, and you know, when Shivani asked me that the victimized state, or why do we believe in that? Sometimes like somebody comes and says, okay, I've applied for this job and I really want this job, but I don't think I'm going to get it. I don't think I'm going to get it. Right? And I would say, but I think you're going to get it. Now, none of us are true. None of us know about what is going to happen 10 days later. He says, I'm not going to get it. And I say, you're going to get the job. At the moment, at the present moment, both of this is none of this is true, isn't it? He says, I will not get it. I say, you will get it. But we are not, at the moment, none of it is true, isn't it? So what do you choose to put your focus on? Do you want to fall into that victimized state of believing that you're not going to get it? So for the next 10 days till your result come out, you're only going to be in that victimized state that I did a horrible interview, or, you know, I didn't have any approach and I'm going to totally fail in this interview. I'm not going to be selected. Or you want to be in an empowered state of saying that, yes, there are full chances that I get this. What happens 10 days later, we don't know. But you can choose to be peaceful for those 10 days or not. So if you get the job, wonderful. If you don't get the job, you might feel some disappointment. But at least for 10 days, you were in a positive state and you'll be able to handle that disappointment in a much better way and say, okay, I'll pick myself up and apply for something else. I'm sure there's something better ahead. So that is your choice, to be in a victimized state or an empowered state, because when you know that this thought is pulling you down and it is only a thought, you can choose to be without the thought and be happy, peaceful, and, you know, joyous. So make that choice. Next time you feel miserable, you feel yourself caught in something, stop, pause, write down what is it that is making you feel miserable. And then use these 4 questions. Is it true? Is it the absolute truth? How do I feel with the thought? And how do I feel without the thought? And the moment you decide and you get your answer to that, you know that, you know, you've moved from a state of victimization into a state of empowerment, isn't it?
Can I say something?
Please go ahead.
Yeah. So earlier I used to, you know, feel victimized, you know, in a way that, you know, I used to like to socialize with people and I like to, you know, go out a lot and all. And my husband was exact opposite. He didn't like to go out. And also I was feeling that, you know, I'm missing out on so much on life. You know, I don't go out. Don't get to see new places and all. And so, you know, gradually, you know, I thought I am also enough. And when he does not have a problem with me going out by myself, you know, I started meeting people, I started going out with friends, like, you know, so I was happy, and he's also happy that you are happier that way, rather than being sullen that he doesn't want to go out.
Absolutely.
So I also thought I'm enough, like, you know, if
Yeah.
I want to
Absolutely.
enjoy life, I don't have to force her. Yeah.
Yeah. See, we've always been talking here on these. The main thing that we've been talking here on these Sunday talks is that you have all that power within you. You don't need anything, whether it is, you know, you're drowning, you're in a miserable state, you're feeling, whatever these emotions, however they pull you down, you are able to pull yourself out of it, because with your own strength. Until the time you keep waiting for the situation outside, your husband to change, or your children to change, or your boss to change, or, you know, life circumstances to become better, that may never happen. So don't waste your life at all. Just don't waste your life at all. If there is a confrontation, if there is something that is pulling you down, and even if you've got caught in it, it's okay. Just say, I've got engaged in this mind chatter, but I know it's not the truth. So let me just be a little sulky. Let me be a little moody for some time. And when you feel enough, yeah, come on, get up, and you'll be out of it. You'll be out of it. And actually you will dissolve all this pain within you, because that's not you. You don't like to sulk. You don't like to be unhappy. That's not your basic nature. Your basic nature is to be happy, joyous, peaceful, fun. That is what you need to be in. So the moment you pick yourself up and say, okay, this is just a thought and I don't need to, I can step out, get your power back. That's where all these modalities also help, like Mamta said, Arjun said, simple thing, just connect to your breath. You don't even need a healer or therapist or anybody. Just take a pause, reflect on what you're saying, what you're thinking, step back, take 2 to 3 deep breaths. Instantly you'll feel your power back, because you have it all within you. Isn't it? So just don't waste your life in thinking that somebody is going to, stop this. And even if it is this chatter in your mind, I mean, be aware and laugh at it. See, again, my mind goes into that victimized state. But I am powerful. Mind is victimized. I'm not victimized. Watch. Now I know the mind is going to say this. Now it'll take you back to that old memory when, she shouted at you. It'll take you back to that story also, and laugh at it. Laugh at it, because you are bigger than all this mind chatter. You are that peaceful, stillness, which is watching all this drama happening. Step back, just step back and watch. That's the first step. You are the observer of all this mind chatter. And once you start settling into that, you'll see that how you'll be able to step back and not engage in this fight. Just be a witness to the whole thing. Don't become a part of the whole, the whole drama. And the moment you decide to do that, you'll be able to do it very easily. You'll be able to do it. Just be in awareness. Whenever you feel uncomfortable, and I remember very initially in my journey, Tathagat, who's also my teacher, he told me that whenever you're feeling discomfort, you're feeling, depression, all those words that we used, unhappy, hurt, that means that you have identified with that thought. You've made that thought yours, isn't it? So just step back and say, how do I feel without this thought? The moment you step back, you've taken that separation has come in. And you're not the thought. The thought is just a drama happening, but you are here witnessing this. Now this thought is of hurt. Now this thought is of anger. Now this thought is of the boss. Now it is about the husband. Now it is about the children. All this is a drama which keeps changes day to day, moment to moment, minute to minute. But you are here still and stable. Step back into this and own your own power. Enough of chatter. Conscious and unconscious. Thank you so much, Mudita. Thank you. So just keep this in your mind and have questions, bring questions, ask whatever you wish to. That's how all of us have started on our journey, including me. I was not aware of this. I was not even aware that it is a chatter. We all think it is so normal. This is the way our mind is. But
can I ask you a question, Sujata?
Yes, please go ahead.
Actually, if you think of the positive past,
yeah,
like I have been a singer and was doing very well, but now I can't sing because of various reasons, because of age or the problems in the house that I faced due to a lot of stress, because I've been asking you about my health, whether I'll improve or not. Is that okay to remember the good times and feel good? Do you call this also a chatter in the mind?
Absolutely not. Anything that makes you feel good. I mean, why would you want to go into the past which makes you feel sad? That we never question. We go into it. But if you consciously bring into the happy moments of your past and that lifts you up, why would you not go there? And just sing in your heart, even if you can't sing outside, sing in your heart. It will just help you to be in a positive state, and all that unconscious mind chatter will not pull you down. So why should you not? I mean, do anything that makes you happy. There's nothing wrong in it. Why do we question it? It's a happy past. It's been your so-called reality in the past, which you have enjoyed, and that's why actually, what we say when we do spiritual work, we talk about opening the heart. We talk about opening the heart. And when we actually take you through a meditation of opening the heart, we ask you to relive a joyous moment. Take your memory to a moment where you really, really felt happy. Think of a person who you really love. Think you're sitting next to this person and you're holding this person's hand. Think of the first time you saw your child. Think of how you're sitting on a beautiful beach, you're watching a sunset. The moment you take your vision to that, even if it is like faking it, it brings in so much joy and it opens up your heart. And that
True,
is what
true.
gives you joy, isn't it? So why
Yeah.
would you not go? I would say all the time, make conscious efforts to go back to that moment of, something that gave you joy, because it really helps you to expand and come into the most joyful space that you need to be in. It is your right to be joyful and happy, isn't it?
Thank you so much, because I've been wondering, negative thoughts do come all the
Yeah.
time. But
We
that
don't
positive
question
thought-
them, but
Yep.
we don't question them so much, isn't it?
Yeah. Exactly. Thank you so much, Sujata. It's
Thank
been
you. Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you all of you for being here and for sharing and, honest sharing that we do here on the group. No judgment, such honest sharing.